Welcome to episode 2 of the Equanimity Sounds podcast. I'm your host, Kyle J.E., and this is brought to you by Tranquil Road Records. Today I'm joined by Daniel Cronson, singer-songwriter and guitarist. He's releasing a new single sometime in August called See the World. He's also performing on July 11th at Martyrs and July 26th at the Showcase by Chassis and Rice. All right, thank you so much for joining me. How are you doing today?
Very good, man. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Awesome, me too.
Yeah.
Start this out by asking, when did you realize you wanted to pursue music as your career?
Okay. So I'd say wanting to pursue music, legitimately knowing that, was probably when I was like 16 and I discovered guitar through my brother. And it was the kind of thing where, so he's my older brother, Brett, and he's like 6 years older than me. And so he got a guitar, and being the younger brother, I was like, I hate it, get out of here. I really reamed him out for it. He'd like come in and practice in my room and stuff. And but eventually I was just jealous. So I wanted to do it deep down. And that was how it kind of started. So Big Bro got it, and then I got really into it, just kind of how I really am with a lot of things. I get really obsessive and I go full tilt, and I did the same thing with guitar, and really, to the point where I'd say even back then, like, I over-identified with it, and it was so grandiose and important to me at that point in my life, and so huge. And but yeah, that's how it started out for sure. It was this enormous burning fire right away, and I'm 16 and I'm like looking at Slash and Guns N' Roses, and I'm like, I want to do that. I want to run around on stage and jump around, So that was really the starting and the impetus, and it's morphed so much over time now. It's a completely different world. But anyhow, yeah, that's really the start. I was like 16, and it just really helped me back then also to feel like I had some kind of like identity. So because when you're in high school, you're looking for anything to kind of grab onto. A lot of us, at least, I think were. So.
Yeah, I definitely can relate to that.
Right. Almost everyone's. I don't know anyone who isn't lost when they're a teenager. If they are, they're
weird.
So. Has your relationship with your brother like impacted your musical journey like more than just the start of it, or has it just been that?
So, I mean, Brett he was into guitar for a little while. Like when he first started, and then I got really into it, and I basically monopolized his guitar, and I think I put him out of business. And yeah, he doesn't play music anymore. But there was a really long time where he did, and it was such the classic, like, I don't know, like David and Goliath or whatever story, except I guess not that one. It was just like he was so much better than me, and I was the angry little brother, and I was like, and I was always spiteful of him. And it's kind of funny that maybe even set me up for just like the
like your whole attitude.
Yeah, because we could kind of even delve into how negative I really do get sometimes. And I mean, it's just like it's to the point where it's like built into me, and I really have to work hard at fighting that, like super hard. But I don't think Brett did that to me. I think that was probably something that was there anyways. I mean,
are you talking about just being overcritical of yourself? Or?
Yeah, right. That's kind of what I mean. Is I've just kind of always been like really critical of myself. So probably too critical to the point where it's damaging. But
we actually talked a little bit about that in the first episode. It's hard to not be critical when you're trying to improve.
Right, because you need that voice in the back of your head saying it's not good enough. If you're gonna play that scale, learn that scale a little bit better, learn those chords a little bit better. You need that driving force behind you saying, keep pushing it. And so that's what that is. To me, it's like, I look out at the world around me and I'm like, well, all right, it'll never be good enough. So I need to just keep working forever. There can be no, and I'm glad to do it too. Like I love playing. I love practicing. It was at one point just a goal of mine to just like, if I could just sit around and practice all day and not have people on my back about it, that's gold star accomplishment. Like you've arrived, but that goalpost moved even after a while. Mm-hmm. And so anyhow, I don't know if that answers the.
Definitely. It sounds like part of your solution to well, I wouldn't say solution, but part of it is just enjoying the process and maybe not just allowing yourself to think that, but also being aware that it's not all that there is about it.
Right. And that's the part I enjoy the most about it is sitting around playing, and you make these little discoveries at like 1:30 a.m. and it just like puts a huge smile on your
Yeah.
face, and it's this immutable joy, and that's the best part about it for sure. What mires me down is the auxiliary aspects of it, actually, the business side of it and everything else. But it's that's a component that I can't ignore, so I just have to facilitate that as best I can or whatever.
I mean, you want to talk a little bit about that, how that has impacted like the kind of music you make, if it has.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. To me, I feel like I'm making just groovy tunes, and if I was gonna make something that was purposefully meant to grab, it would have to be, I feel like today it would have to be really political, which I guess you'd maybe say Grand Visions is even, but I wouldn't even consider that a political song. That's just pointing out corruption to me, blatant corruption. And so I guess that's political to a degree, but to me it's just pointing out bad human behavior. I don't know. It has nothing to do actually with politics, right or left or whatever, but yeah, I feel like that's like so much of what's charged today. And maybe if I was going to write music, if I was trying to like write music to elicit a reaction, I know that the number one reaction, the thing that drives clicks, the thing that drives whatever, above all, is like anger and like that reaction. And that's so much of that political stuff is rooted in that. And so I try to stay away from it, honestly. Like I don't want to be involved in it. Even if the songs themselves are kind of a little bit of a political statement, I'm not really trying to do that,
Yeah, that makes sense. How much time do you spend like trying to market your music? Is that something that you try to do just
Yeah.
to have people listen to it?
My voice goes down when I say that. Yeah. Yeah, you have to. And or I mean, you have to, I guess, if you want to, reach an audience and build a base, and that's kind of been my plan all along. That was the this when I was 16. I like I said, I wanted to be on that stage and playing and dancing around, and so that part hasn't changed. The genre's changed, and what I'm doing has changed. But yeah, and my business mind is slowly been forming. I resist it because I honestly really actually have a dislike for that aspect. It's not that even that a lot of people are just kind of ignorant to it, or they just don't maybe focus on it. Like I know it exists. I dislike it actively is kind of a problem. So it's hard for me to want to take part in it then. But yeah, I got to if I want to, live and make my bones. It's a necessity. So, and I think I'm slowly finding my way through it. Everyone has to. So and talking about being critical, I'm very critical of myself, and I think a lot of artists are, because we're so invested in this, time-wise, money-wise, etc. And it's really easy to get into that compare and despair game, which I find a lot. But yeah, you just got to really avoid that. And so yeah, marketing your stuff. For me, yeah, I've been doing it. It costs me money, and it's to get exposure, and it's to get, to try and get some kind of, just interest and base and buzz, like based around what you're doing. And so, yeah, I have been. I'm not a huge fan of having to do it, though. That's for sure.
You talked a little bit about this before, how basically being a musician became your identity almost right away. How has that changed, or how is that now?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, like when I was 16, you heavily invest immediately. You're just like, oh well, I'm this 100%. There's no variance. And then when I was like 24 or 23, something like that, I had a teacher, really great jazz guitar player. His name is Scott Hesse, and taught me a lot of what I know as far as whatever skills and stuff today, and also just a really good life philosophy. And one of the things he said to me that stuck with me And to this day, and I'll always remember it, is he said, actually, like, you can't do that. You don't want to do that. You cannot just 100% be Daniel Cronson, the musician, and Daniel Cronson, the artist. You need to also be a varied person. And I really hated that idea at the time, actually. Like, I really resisted that. And it took years and years and years, 4 years, for me to really kind of accept that and start to believe that, oh, he's right. And in fact, this, like, being that will influence, your artistry and your music and your path in a more beneficial, healthier, and a more probably enjoyable way than just being like completely focused on the aspect of being a musician and being whatever that would probably entail being the best, right? So it's like, you can't do that, man. A, because there's always some new upstart that's going to put you to shame. And, B, because I think you probably won't be a happy person overall, because he's right. You have to be a varied individual. You can't just be one thing. And so, yeah, that really stuck with me. I'll never forget that.
I think that's definitely really important to think about. I mean, I think that who you are as an individual apart from music is often more important, because it brings your ideas to life. Like, you're not gonna be making music if you don't have life experiences. Like, you can make good music, but it won't have meaning or provide any perspective.
Right.
And that's what art is about.
Yeah. There has to be some substance, or else it's just Molly Percocet, right? I'm curious, like, what do you think of all that stuff? Like, my attitude on it.
I definitely agree. It's not something that I say logically I know it's true, but I can't say that I've mastered that concept. Like, my musical identity is very much tied to my happiness at the moment, and I know that's not a good thing. Like, if I couldn't play music, that would just be a huge blow to.
Right. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
No, and the same. So that, I'm in the same spot, and I think that's probably almost any artist, especially an artist that really has a drive to do this, like, for real, for a living. And I'm talking, comedian, painter, musician, whatever. Like, yeah, I mean, you take their medium away from them, that person is going to be depressed almost in all cases. You're not human if, like, that would gut most people for sure. I think what he really was trying to get at, and maybe with me specifically, because I was like this young, 24, 25-year-old kid or whatever, I think he was trying to tell me to, like, probably not have as much of an ego about it, and to also, just really kind of realize that, like, it is the most important thing to me career-wise that I've chosen to do, but it's not the most important thing to me in my life. It's just one aspect of the most important things to me in my life, So, like, and there's a huge difference there. Because if you're completely invested in one way, which is like, it's the only aspect of my life, it's the only thing, I don't know. It's, that can be lost. And you see that happen even with some artists and stuff. They get, like, I don't know, blacklisted or whatever for one reason or another, or their career takes a bad turn, and I guess that's it. But then, you never know, because there's always the comeback story, and we're in a country that loves that. I mean, that is what people want now. They want to see some story about how you were broke on the street and then you're now a millionaire. That's the American dream, and I mean, so many people want that for themselves, but I really actually take a big issue with that, because A, it's not feasible, I don't believe.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, not everyone can win. And it's just a sad, horrible fact so far of human reality. But sorry to be a bummer, but I mean, I don't see any other way to ignore that, And so I take that all just kind of in stride, and I feel like it's all just, it's observations to me at this point. But, there is still always hope, and there's always tomorrow. Like, the minute you give up and let that defeat you is the minute you've lost. And I mean, I'm saying all these things knowing them full well, and they scare the hell out of it. Like, they really, all these things scare me a lot, right? And they're all things that I've ruminated on a whole bunch, and I've spent probably hundreds or thousands of hours thinking about these topics. And so I've come up with these kind of answers, and yeah, it's all really scary. I'm scared to my wits, man. But there's no way I'm dipping out of it, too. And so, there's no way. Because, I mean, I have a little bit of a foothold now. I mean, heck, I've been able to do it for, a quasi-living for like 4 years, where I'm making at least enough money to, buy ramen noodles and have a house. So, that for a long time even was my goal. And I got that, and then I moved my goalpost again. And it's kind of like I said to you before a lot, like Americans, we move our goalpost every time, It's like we get one thing and we move it 10 yards up. But, the farmer or whatever, he doesn't care, man. Like, his goalpost has stayed the same his whole life. I was kind of thinking about that today, and Ishmael kind of made me think about that too, about how, yeah, it's like this society built on advancing and growing and expanding, and it never, ever stops, and the wheel must continue to turn. And it's like, well, not really. You can also just be a farmer forever and yield your crops and die with no regrets on your deathbed. So,
yeah. I actually want to touch on a few things. Well, first...
Yeah, sorry, that was a lot.
No, you're good. You're good.
That was a lot.
First, Ishmael is a book for you who don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Really good. Would recommend it to everyone. Something that made me think of is that once you try to make music like your career choice or any art, then your success is then intrinsically linked to your happiness. Like, your success as like doing well as an artist will provide for you.
Right.
And then like that sets yourself up for unhappiness.
Oh, yeah.
Because then you have to think about that instead of just making music the thing that you love to do. Like, because
that's exactly where I'm at, man. And it's really painful for me because I feel like I believe in myself more than these platforms believe in me. Like, I really believe I'm ready. And, I've been denied over and over. And so I've really had a craw in my, whatever, like, I've really had a bee in my bonnet, to use a super old term. Bee in my bonnet. I've had a bee in my bonnet forever about that. And it's because it's straight up denial. And it's like, I know in my core that I am ready to hit the road and start growing a bass and building a bass and to be legitimized. I know I'm ready in my heart, I do. And I know that I can put on a good show and impress people. That's not a question for me anymore. I've spent years just like working that, that's not. So it's like these guys, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, YouTube, they all just deny me. And I'm like, well, it's either because I don't have tens and tens of thousands of natural followers, or I don't know, because I can find acts that seemingly have less whatever, quote unquote following. They are verified, and it's a really painful process to go through where there's basically some big brother that's just like, yeah, you're not ready, kid. And it's like, dude, I know I'm ready. Like, I can go out on the street and just make money. Like, I've been living off of this. I've been releasing music. It's globally distributed. You can Google my name. A whole bunch of stuff pops up. Like, what else do they need for me to just be considered legitimate even? It's not like I'm asking to be Kanye West tomorrow. Like, how is what I've done so far in their eyes not legitimate? It doesn't make sense to me. And it actually, really angers me. So
I want to join a couple things we were talking about.
Yeah.
So maybe your reaction to that is partly because, like, music is your career and you need it to
live.
So
totally.
Then
this is livelihoods, right?
So like you're into music because you love it and like you put yourself into it because you want to be good for your own sake. Like you enjoy the process, but then when you don't have the results, that wouldn't bother you if
I had enough. If I didn't have to buy ramen noodles, dude, like, and I'm fine doing that, I guess. But I've been doing it for years, and if someone out there is trying to tell me that they're not going to get sick of that, they're lying. So or they're just, maybe they're not lying, but They just have no idea because they haven't actually done it. They haven't actually been through it. And I'm not faulting them for that, but it's different when you're in the shoes of the person that is actually doing this. So where it's like it's an everyday thing. Like you wake up, you practice for guitar for 2 hours, you take a break, you eat something, you practice singing for 45 minutes. You go out, you have to do gigs or you have to field work. It's every single day, and it's like hours and hours of practice. It'll never end. And I mean, you become obsessed with it and you start to love it after a long time. So that's not a problem. But, to get nothing back, like really, I mean, just especially like if I hadn't paid for this stuff to get the reactions that it's gotten, I can just guarantee you beyond a doubt that it would not have elicited a reaction. Basically, it hasn't gotten the reaction it deserves, even as I've paid for it, and I knew that it wouldn't get the reaction it deserved definitely at all if I didn't pay for it.
Are you talking about one
I'm
of your
talking about
singles?
like promoting, yeah,
Okay.
like yeah. Right now, the climate for people that maybe don't know is like if you're an artist trying to make your bones online, you basically have YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, right? Like is there anything else? That's really big.
I'd say that's
Yeah.
the main three.
And I don't think there's gonna be anything else, or if they are, they're just gonna be branches of those companies. Okay, so basically, in my opinion, these guys have formed a little club, and they have their verification check mark that they can give you, and it's seemingly super arbitrary because I fit all the criteria for what a fledgling verified artist looks like. Like I've seen a ton of other ones. I don't understand. So it's clearly some arbitrary process that's being carried out by like, I don't know, man, some staff at these places. And so yeah, and it wouldn't be a problem, like you said, if it wasn't such an enormous motivating factor for people when they see just when they see a little blue check mark next to your name, as ridiculous as that is, it makes an enormous difference on whether or not they're going to tune into your stuff. And so there needs to be like a strict guideline that if you fit this criteria, you are verified, because it doesn't make sense the other way. The way that they're doing it is like they lay out pretty vague criteria and then they just arbitrate as they see fit. So it's like, and you know what? I understand it's the company. I have absolutely no, why would they listen to anything like any ideas like this at all? They totally wouldn't. It's their right to do exactly what they want as a company. If they want to be vicious about it, they can be vicious about it or whatever. Like, they take people's verifications away just for, quote unquote saying the wrong thing. And it's like, this is people's livelihoods we're talking about here. And you guys are essentially now, people say there's no gatekeepers. I agree to an extent. Like, let's say 30 years ago, if you're an unknown artist, I feel like unless you get some kind of record deal, I don't know how you're going to get known, right? Like, that was the old way, and now it's kind of like you can make it yourself, and if you just put out really good organic content, or you put out really good content, you'll get that organic growth, seemingly. And we've all seen people come up this way, like Jacob Collier, Daniel Donato, Jesse Gold. These are some names that come to my head where I think of people that I've seen their story go from 5,000 Instagram followers to 60,000, or in Jacob's case, hundreds of thousands. So it's definitely seems like there's some kind of formula or just some kind of reaction that certain people get, certain people don't get, and yeah. So when you're me, and you look at all of this, you basically just go like, oh, well, I'm the one that didn't get the reaction, and why? And so you start questioning, and you come to all these ridiculous conclusions about how you're not good enough or whatever. But ultimately, I think it's probably not that. It's probably not the super defeatist thing that I come up with, and it's probably more just like random chance, exposure, luck. A lot of things that like I am not even cognizant of because they're completely, invisible elements to me, probably, that have led me to where I am. And so that's all just, a madman's ruminations probably, but
I mean, do you want to talk a little bit about just kind of like being okay with that? I mean, what
right.
I'm thinking of is like, there's just it's never been easier to make music yourself,
Right.
and
Totally.
there's like a huge oversaturation. I wouldn't
Exactly.
say oversaturation. I think it's amazing that so many people are making good music and putting it out there, but it's just a lot of music. And how do you
Right.
demand? Well, I'm not. How do you get people to listen to your music when there's so many people?
Right.
How are you just like okay with like maybe not always getting the response that you would have liked?
Well, yeah, you have to adjust to that. You're right. That's the only way, because if you don't, you're gonna sink. And I've been experiencing that, and so and I have a really hard time adjusting to that. I have a really hard because even with this last song, I've been releasing music to, sorry to say, to crickets for like 3 years, and I think 15 for like 4 years, man. And so I'm sorry to say, but I had, even though I didn't want to have like expectations and hopes for this most recent song that I released, I Won't Let You Down. I still did, just because I was excited about the song itself. Like, I'd listen to it and I'd just go, man, this is great. Like, I love this song. I'm so happy I wrote this, came up with it. Like, damn, I can't believe I wrote that. Like, it's kind of like once you have a finished product, like you're like, what? I made this? Like, what? How did this even come to be?
I can totally relate to that.
Yeah. And so you're so excited, and then, yeah. But that's just the way it is. And I mean, I think probably every artist is jazzed about their little creation once it's done. So it makes sense. But I don't know. I feel like I've always been very objective with a negative tint just towards me. So like, I feel like my stuff is objectively good enough to be warranting something at this point. And it is, but only when I really shell out like the bucks to get it there. Otherwise, it really just, I think it's really just as a matter of their damn algorithms. Like, I don't get anything. It's not like anyone's fault, I guess, other than the system that is really not getting me the traffic that I need. I fully believe that if magically somehow my stuff just got a ton of traffic, people would be like, oh, this guy's good, and tune into it, and that would be that, and it'd be a wrap. But I can't. And again, revisiting, that's why it's so painful. Every time these guys turn me down, every 30 days I apply and they turn me down. And it's like, that's it. That's the last thing I need. After that, man, it's like I'll every single person, and I really hate that it is this way, but every single person that goes to my profile is just going to be like, oh, this guy's legit, and they'll be way more likely to tune into me.
You're talking about the verification process, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just
I really believe
check.
that is, I mean, it's not key because there are tons of people that have come up without it, but I'm about to talk about that in a second. So if you look at like some names that have come up in the Chicago scene or around, especially Instagram guitar players, there's some really big ones that are verified, and there's some really big ones that aren't verified. And so it makes you go, what's going on here? Is it that these people are not applying, or they probably just don't care? Like, some of them have hundreds of thousands, so clearly they're beyond the bar for verification. But they're not. Meanwhile, some of them are lower tier and they do have it. But I mean, it can be said without a doubt that regardless of your content, even if you're really sick, like these non-verified guitar players with hundreds of thousands, even if you're really sick, it totally influences people's decision on whether or not they're going to, in their mind, make up the decision that you're a legit artist, that they're going to give a chance to listening to your catalog, or if you're just another dude trying to make it. And so, because people don't want to tune into the guy just trying to make it. They want to tune, for some reason, they want to tune into the already established thing most of the time. Non-musicians, probably, I think. Musicians are a little more adventurous with their their musical interests.
I mean, that's a little bit stereotyping, but I'd say that's could be true most of the time.
It could be true. Right. I mean, there's definitely, like, nothing is ever black and white. That's a problem of mine, too, is I sometimes get in a very black and white kind of mindset, but I always know that there's always massive, what do you want to call it, variance in everything. So nothing can ever truly be that way. I've been rambling, so.
You're good. I actually have another question I'd like
Sure.
ask you. Do you think that you pursuing music helps make the world a better place?
Yeah. Like, totally, man. Every time every time I'm like out playing a gig and I make eye contact with someone and they smile, and then a lot of times they'll tip me, or like, I just did it. I made someone feel a little better or whatever. I made someone have a good interaction. They walked away smiling. That's all you can do. Like, massively, yeah, I mean, look at the impact that so many songs have had on so many people's lives. I mean, that's why we all, I imagine, at least get into this, really, is because we want to affect people the same way that we got affected when we heard, X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, just make people feel good.
Yeah, totally, because we felt good when we heard X, Y, and Z, and so, we can do it too, right? That was my whole thing too, and when I first started, I was very much just of the mind, like, I'm going to do this, I don't, I got talked out of it more or less. Like, a lot of people tried to talk me out of it, family members.
Do you think that experience kind of started you off viewing yourself negatively?
Cynical?
Possibly? Yeah.
Probably. It's possible, man. The first thing, I mean, when I resolved to be a guitar player, quote unquote, like, I'm like, I made it obvious to the people around me, i.e. my family. Everyone, and with pretty good reason was like, all right, good luck with that. Because it is a super ridiculous, ambitious goal, and there's a million people trying to do it. And, so, and everyone wants it. It's just this, it's a dream job or whatever. So, yeah, and they tried to talk me out of it, and it was this tearful fight for like hours, and I was just like, and they were of the mind that, like, dude, they were like, these people that you're trying to emulate are gods. And I'm like, what? You're crazy. Like, these are just normal people that wake up in the middle of the night and have to take a piss. So, like, I can do that too.
I mean, that's so true. We're all just normal people. Even as much as we create a persona to hide behind. Well, I wouldn't say hide, but
to
we're
show
all
the
just
world
normal people.
Yeah, we're not showing the world our 3 a.m. piss persona, but yeah, but
right.
it still is always there. And so it's hilarious too. But no, I mean, so that was my case, and I was like, dude, these guys are just guys. I knew the secret then, and the secret is just sit around and practice. By the way, to anyone that's listening, anyone that wants to listen, anyone that's listening is like, how do I get there? How do I? You need to practice, and you need to get obsessed with practice, and you need to practice hard for years and years and years. That's the only way. And then go out and play, and then it'll be there, and it'll never leave you. So, but that's it. There's no other way. And so I told them that, and they're like, we'll see. And no, but, and then years went by, and now they are the most supportive people. They're at every single show, and, you just I had to show them what was up, know? I had to show them that I was very serious about it. And unlike, the only thing I'd ever been serious about in my life before that was playing video games 12 hours a day. So, and I basically just took that method and transferred it to music, and that's why it worked. I don't know if I played 12 hours a day, because doing one is a lot easier than the other. I don't know if you've done much video gaming, but it's mostly just sitting around and, you're not really utilizing your full potential there. But, I did what I did. No regrets. And, yeah, I am generally kind of like I wrote on that, like, I am content. I don't using the word happy is weird. I think humans strive for happiness too much. Happiness is gone in 2 seconds every time. Happiness is like anger. Anger usually is gone in like 2 seconds. Happiness is like real, true joy. Happiness is like gone in 2 seconds, man. You just want to be content in your life and your path, which I am. I'm just struggling, And so I've been pretty vocal about the struggle lately. And I sometimes feel, like people probably chalk it up to me just like whining. But, I mean, they really have to consider, man, that like this is not it's not like just some job that you show up to because you have to, and something that you, and I mean, I'm sorry to say, but that's most people's work. So I mean, there's a huge amount of investment and hope and and like, pride and everything and ego and every human element goes into trying to do this for real. So, but I've always had the kind of defeated hero attitude about it, that like I will succeed even though like no one cares. And I will succeed even and it's not that like no one cares, but like, I will succeed even though like I feel defeated a lot of the times, is basically my attitude.
I think it's really easy to feel that way. Like the way that social media is, it's so
Oh, yeah.
easy to just feel like no one
Oh,
cares
yeah.
about you. And
Totally.
I think that's just a product of the times that we're in, and it's hard to move past that and like change your mindset about it,
Mhm.
because it's just how that thing can make you feel.
Right. And it makes me feel that way every time. Like, I don't know, man. I swear, I have such a hard time believing these other people when I see them on there that are like, I'm so inspired by this and et cetera. I'm just like, yeah, I am too. Like, the guy's really good, but like, man, I just want a small little piece of the pie. And this dude's got like 200,000 followers. Hey, man, can I just have like 10 of those? Like, can I just have like 10 of those real quick so I can just like have a small little base and like go do my thing? Like, I'm not asking for or expecting anything huge, I mostly just want to be legitimized in the, I'm in my own eyes, I am legitimized. I'm not questioning myself, like I said, anymore. I want to be legitimized in the public eyes now, because that is what's going to eventually equate to a better quality of life for me, which is really what I'd like. So, in terms of just being able to take care of myself, in a capitalist society, you need dollars to do that. So, unfortunately, we're not the levers. So, you know, we all need money to live. And yeah, you make a bit playing on the street, playing gigs. You get some hotel gigs, some restaurant gigs. I've been living off that. You make a bit, but like I said, man, it's not like I'm eating steak. So
Just want to mention that Levers is also a reference to Ishmael again.
keep going back to that.
Yeah. So read that book. It's good.
It's a great book, man. It's a really great book to get like start on these ideas. Because it's not like a very dense philosophy book. It's a philosophy book, but it's not like written in super dense, archaic language. So yeah, again, highly recommended. Sorry.
No, it is a fiction book, but it just really helps you understand the way the world works and how it came to be that way. And I think that's always useful. Also want to mention that I think Daniel talked about it a little bit. A song he released recently is called Grand Visions. Really great song. Features Kahinde. I checked that out. And the last single he released after that is called I Won't Let You Down.
Yeah.
Another great single. A lot of great meaning. Kind of touched on a few of the things that we talked about as well in those two songs. And I'd like to close this off with one more question.
Sure thing.
If you weren't pursuing music, is there something else, another job or vocation that you think you'd pursue?
Yeah. If like I've always said this, if I like lost the ability of like my voice, hands, and I couldn't blow. I mean, I have all the, like I can't really lose my ability to play music, thankfully, because at this point I sing, I play the chromatic harp. I mean, I'd have to lose my hands and my larynx would have to get removed. So, but sub that happening, I would actually I would go. This is going to sound so crazy, but I know it would work, dude. If I did this, I know it would work. I would just go be a gamer on Twitch and just stream 10 hours a day. And I would do that for years. And eventually I'd grow on that platform. People would like my personality. I've already done it. Like I'd succeed, I really believe, if I went that avenue, but I don't want to be a gamer I don't want to spend hours every day just playing, getting paid to play video games. It sounds like a dream, but it's not a fulfilling thing to do, I can tell you. I've never made millions of dollars at it. Maybe that's fulfilling for people, but like I want to make music. I want to make songs. That's my lifelong obsession. So, it's like, but yeah, if I wasn't doing that, I'd probably just go that avenue and because that's a thing now. And I've always really actually loved video games. My brother got me into them when I was young. Like I'm talking 5 years old. I was obsessed. So that's never changed. And it's actually been a huge problem, too, throughout my life. Like, I've struggled with video game addiction and having to really moderate myself and police myself on that front. But that's maybe a different podcast, eh?
Yeah. Thank you so much. I think that's about it. Thank you for bringing up so many important things that musicians and artists can go through. There's a lot of difficulties we face and obstacles with getting heard and just struggling to make a living. So thank you so much.
My pleasure, man. Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you so much for listening. Peace.
All right.